for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone at home. Oh, I'm sorry. At our last meeting, we decided to employ a engineering firm as the town engineer. We did have to put out a RFP, whatever they call that, and the RFP sounds good enough.
That works.
And we decided at the last meeting and voted upon an engineering company called Lankin Tully. Lankin Tully is out of Goshen. Tonight, I've asked two of the principals, John O'Rourke and Dawn, last name I don't know.
DeSantis now.
Dawn?
Married since the last time.
Oh, very nice, congratulations. I asked them to come and just say hello to us, and in particular with the TV, people at home can see that these new people walking through their backyards and wondering who they are, and when they do tell them that they're our engineering company. So, Mr. O'Rourke, would you stand up to that microphone and introduce yourself, introduce Dawn again, and
Sure. Well, thank you. Appreciate being appointed the town engineer. I noticed a little quote's very nice. Again, we're from Goshen, John O'Rourke, Lankin Tully Engineering, and Dawn DeSantis. So hopefully we're here to help you. We're close enough, 24 hours, 7 days a week. We're familiar with the town. We've done some work at Corbin Hills in the past. We represent now about 10 different municipalities in Orange and Rockland counties, so we're very familiar with what you're going through. All the towns, whether it's the MS4 or the DEC with infiltration, sewer treatment plants, water plants. So, right now we're running about a staff of 38. So we're a mid-sized company, and we've been here since 1985. So again, we have many municipal clients. We also have private clients. We're about half and half. So as we like to say, we know how to get things done, but we know how to do them correctly through the municipal processes.
if there's something that is not in your expertise, you have other companies?
We will
to call on?
find, yes, we are, as we say, the jack of all trades. If it's not in our wheelhouse, we usually get 2 or 3 companies that, let's say you need an architect to redo these windows. We could do that. But if it was more involved than that in historic, we would get you tied into either a specialized structural engineer or an architectural firm. So we've been around a long time. We have a lot of contacts. And we know a lot of the specialties. Sometimes environmental. Once you get to a hazardous waste site, we could tie you into environmental engineering.
I'm surprised you picked on our windows, because we've talked about this for a long time, our windows.
It was random, I swear. It was random.
Years we've talked about it.
Well, it's funny you actually say that, but in Village of Walden, which is one of our municipalities, again, a building such as this, and several years ago, they went through and we rehabbed all their buildings, and we went through SHPO because it was a historical building. So we actually redid all their building, all the windows there. So, as I say, we're familiar with a wide range of unusual items.
Now, your company, through Dawn, has helped us out with water up on Corbin Hill, and is much appreciated, and even, you may know, I shouldn't say this, I might get her in trouble, but I'm saying it anyway. And then maybe some of that was pro bono, because she was very helpful, very quick with getting
Yeah,
back to us.
we'll talk later.
and-
Yeah, no, we're familiar with that. And a lot of this stuff, you're no different than a lot of our municipalities. And, we will provide, I shouldn't put on the record, but provide pro bono. Typically, we help volunteer ambulance corps, fire departments, anything that's typically volunteer that assists the town, and little tiny stuff. I'll be honest with you. If you call us, I'm not charging you for every phone call. If we get a project, then we'll charge. But if it's a first feelers or quick answers, yeah, we're not gonna charge you for that.
I think probably, and I'm not talking about tomorrow, because God knows where the money's coming from, but we need another water tower situated up on top where the other water tower is. We just need one up there. So if you should happen to see some money out there, some free money that we can get a water tower out of, the governor keeps claiming about all this money he's putting out for water projects and clean water and all this stuff. Well, tell him to put the money where his mouth is.
Again, we always have our ear to the ground for grants. There's a lot of opportunities, but as you know, they're very difficult. And yeah, they're out there, but
Oh, yeah.
half the time they cost more to get them than to actually, if it's money.
And once you get them, you have to, it's always 50/50 grants, which bother me. I want a grant where you can give me the money and let me do my job. But
If I find one, you'll be the first to know, but they're few and far between for the whole thing.
Town board, you got something?
I'm not speaking on town board's behalf. Dawn has what I hope to be her first assignment when I read the sewer flows off tonight, as we spoke at the last meeting. We're rapidly approaching 95%. We know there's a lot of infiltration, and we know where we need to start, which is the gravity part of the plant at manhole 1, going back to manhole 19, which is right where you cross 9W, across from your restaurant. Kelly is our comptroller over there. She knows how much money might be available in the budget for such things. You can discuss with her. That's something we have to do. We have to. So there's plenty of other things going on down the plant. We won't throw you into that fire, but the infiltration, yes.
Ty, you got anything?
No.
June?
No, I'm very happy that you're on board. I feel confident now.
Welcome.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Dawn, you have anything since you traveled with John here, or is he taking you out to dinner tonight?
Well, just to say, John and
I
I,
gave a
we're
hint
going
there,
to be
yeah.
the principal contacts.
Okay.
Sometimes John isn't always as readily accessible as I am. He's not in the office nearly as much as I, out at various meetings. But you have our contact information, even cell phones. As John said, you need something Saturday night at 7 o'clock, call cell phone, and we can help you out.
I know you're easy to find. Pat and I went out to your office
Yeah.
one
yeah.
time. I forget exactly what the matter was, but we had a nice little talk conference out there.
And as John said, we have a large staff, diverse staff. We've got a planner, we've got construction observation. Both John and John Russo are certified building inspectors, our code enforcement officers, however you want to say that these days. We have basically any one of your needs, we're going to have somebody right on staff. And if we don't, as John said, we also have the relationships if it's something that's, excuse me, a little outside of what we do, technical architecture or what have you.
This isn't the right time or place, but I think we're going to talk to you about construction observation, if you're using the word inspector on there.
Yes.
We'll talk about that.
Yes, we do a lot of construction observations for most of our municipal clients.
And the private ones, we do it
Yeah.
on both sides. And just quickly to your point about the infiltration and budgeting, again, we work for a wide range of communities. Some have money, some don't. There's a wide range. We can install meters, or what we've done in other instances, to be honest with you, work just as well. In a rainy day, you go pull manholes. It's a lot cheaper and easier than setting up meters and everything else. So we can certainly work with you and work within your budget to try to quantify that.
And see where the issues are, and then narrow it down instead of a broad, just, okay, this section, do the TV work on. Or
And you're not alone. There's not a community in upstate New York that is not hitting with
that we
iron.
Well,
haven't done an IM
Without
study.
philosophizing, the Reagan administration gave us all money to do these things, and we're only a district of less than 400 people. The district is a special district. It's not the whole village or town paying for it, and now it's 35 years old. And it's gotten ahead of us a little bit. I think many communities have had that happen.
Yes.
Wouldn't bother me if the federal government would give a little boost nationally to a lot of them.
Yeah.
You're not
I
alone.
I wish I could tell them, yeah, they'll give you money, but yeah. And the regs got much stricter too, and they've changed a lot of the rules and regulations. So what worked back in the 80s isn't working now, and that's where everybody's having the problem. But it's really the I&I, to be honest with you. Back then, they didn't care if stormwater got into the pipe, so it wasn't a big deal. Now it's their main focus, so. But we can help you with that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate very much you guys coming down, and we'll be in touch.
We appreciate it and look forward to it. Good to see you.
Good to meet you all.
Right.
As usual, when I see a group of people that come in for a specific reason, I let them go first so that they don't have to sit through our boring meeting. So, ladies, gentlemen, what are you here for?
Do I have to use the microphone?
I prefer it so everybody at home can hear you. We can bring it down. You can sit down in front of it if you'd like.
That's okay. Thank you, thank you. I'm not accustomed to standing for any length of time at this
Okay.
point in my life, all right? There have been some questions raised about the per-person fee for transportation for senior citizens' bus trips. I addressed questions directly to Mr. Falk. I haven't received substantial answers, okay? Number one, does this include the gratuity for the bus driver? And number two, where is the rest of the money going? Because I'm believing that we're not giving a bus driver $6 per person gratuity. So that's one question.
Okay. We don't have answers for you right now, obviously.
Okay.
Unless Ty does.
No, in fact, I met with them earlier. I talked about that in the liaison.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next question is regarding the stipulation for the use of a bus, and that is if we are to go to the Orange County Senior Council luncheon in Middletown, we have to have a full bus, or the bus will be canceled. This is something new, and I'm not saying this to embarrass anyone, but there has in the past been a 48-passenger bus going out for 4 people. I'm not espousing that. As a matter of fact, I said to Mr. Falk, I admire his fiscal responsibility, but for senior citizens, if we have the smaller bus, 23-passenger, I believe, and the day of the trip, 3 or 4 people are sick, that's a possibility. Hopefully, that bus is not going to be canceled. It seems very strange that we should have to have a full bus. There was a bus to Westchester Dinner Theater recently. There were 7 or 8 vacant seats on that bus. So I'm just bringing this to your attention. I'm speaking on behalf of SCAC, which is a function of the town of Highlands. But we also have the vice president of the Highlanders here. We have people who are filling 2 positions, the Highlanders and also on SCAC. I have vice chairperson of the SCAC and Kathy Rose, who has organized bus trips for years for the senior citizens. And it just seems all of a sudden we're being penalized. If the taxpayers are paying for the bus transportation, senior citizens are taxpayers too, but to get on that bus, they have to pay $6 additional. That's a penalty.
Okay.
Okay, so, and where is the money going?
No, I hear you.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I'll get answers for you. or
Sure.
You'll get the answers for her, right, sir?
That's correct.
All right.
Okay, we haven't had any real meeting since last September, I believe. We were supposed to have a meeting the next month. That hasn't happened. I kept getting I kept getting emails to save certain dates for meetings that never occurred. And now there is a meeting scheduled with Ann Molina. I believe it's the 10th of April. Can somebody correct me or verify that? All right. Anyway, we will be meeting with Ann, but this is long overdue. It has caused a lot of distress, a lot of angst. We are all from the same community, working for the same group of people for the betterment of our senior citizens. And how did we get involved in it in the beginning? I'm going to tell you. I went to Highlanders meetings representing the center. I was the liaison to the Highlanders to find out what they wanted, what kinds of programs, and I found out in short order that their only activities were bingo playing for 3 or 4 hours twice a week, and on occasion, Kathy would arrange for a bus trip, and that was the extent of their activities. I can give you a computer printout of the activities that have been provided through SCAC for the past 3 to 4 years. It's phenomenal, and it's all done by volunteer work. Volunteer work, people who work very hard. And I appreciate that. I'm just speaking on behalf of the group of people here. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. And the issues, Councilman King will see that he gets to you with a reasonable answer. I think on the buses and being full, that bus you spoke of that left, a 40-passenger bus or whatever it was, and left with 5 people, I blame a lot of people. I even blame the company itself. They should have been smart enough to know that we can't take off with just these 4 people here. Even if they canceled it right there, we would have still had to pay for it. But that's what started us being looking a little harder at the buses. Now, if you're taking the 23-passenger bus and you got a full bus, all right, we've got it booked, we've got it ready to go, and there's no problem. 3 people don't show up. All right, so what? They don't show up, you still take off. But you're not going to get the bus unless you're telling us that you've got 23 people that are ready to go. I'm not saying we're going to cancel it. Well, I think we have a month, if I remember right, a few weeks or what have you.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. So if at 2 weeks you got 23 people going, fine, the bus is going. If 5 people don't show up, then they don't show up. And I think that $6 is to have skin in the game.
That's a commitment.
Huh?
It's a commitment, not a penalty.
A commitment?
Right, and in other words, if you're one of the 5 people that don't show up, that $6 is still staying with the bus and the bus driver, or do you get any of that, Kelly?
The only thing I get is when Ann's been doing the Westchester Dinner Theater, so she's collecting the money, and I take that and use that to pay the Westchester Dinner Theater. Just comes in and out of the office.
Oh, okay, so there's no profit to it, or
Yeah.
what have you, okay, yeah.
Well, there is on the new trip, though, because it says per person $6.
Okay.
So my question is, where is that $6 going? How much of it is going to the bus driver? And where is the rest of the money going?
Okay, we'll find out. We'll find out.
And because people want to know. And we're at a point now where it has been suggested that we carpool. That's fine. If I take Kathy Rose in my car and I have an accident and Kathy already has a cervical spine problem, who's going to be sued? I'm the owner-driver of the car. The other suggestion was to contact local churches to use their vans.
That doesn't work, I know.
And I had specifically requested a 15-passenger van, and I was told that there wasn't one available through West Point Tours. Is that the only place that we look for transportation services?
I think that's the only place we can afford, because anywhere out of town charges us from port to port. So if you get a bus from, we'll say, Newburgh or Monroe, they're going to charge us from Monroe to here, and then wherever you want to go, and then back to Monroe again.
But if I get a 15-passenger van and they charge for 15 miles transportation between Monroe and Highland Falls, which is gilding the lily a little bit, you still may be ahead of the game as opposed to a 24 or 23
Oh, yeah,
passenger
yeah,
bus.
sure.
Okay.
And Councilman King is going to look into that, too. Absolutely, yes, no,
All
yeah.
right,
And that
thank you.
meeting you're having, make sure that he's notified of when the meeting is, and when and where and what time.
Well, Ann sent the notice out. She
Okay.
organized it, and Tyrone was one of the people who received the notice.
All right, okay,
Yeah.
then we're okay, yeah.
Thank you
All
for your
right.
time.
You're welcome. Ladies, anything else?
I think so. She said I'm the spokesperson.
Oh, okay.
Well,
thank-
just let me say before they,
Sure.
because you may want to leave and not stay for the rest of the meeting. You know, I had the opportunity to meet with the seniors earlier today. A lot of great, not only comments about things that's needed to improve, but in terms of the quality of the programs going on, you know, I believe that definitely right track. Had a class today at lunch in reference to green burial. If you don't know what green burial is, that's the, going back to embalming, which I found out today, it was during the Civil War era when that first started in America. So again, that class was very educational, and it gives an alternative to anyone, but particularly seniors, to what's going on now in the funerals business. So that's one example. But then earlier there was a history class in the center that was phenomenal. I mean, I'm ready to go back and videotape quality video next time, send it off to PBS or something. So we're here for you. One of the things that I've done is advocate for the seniors. That's the reason why we had a senior citizen coordinator during my watch, right, that the board approved. And then later we decided to go from the senior citizen coordinator model to letting the center, who has the services and the staff, to be able to apply those skill sets to the senior population. And we think we're on the right track between the center and SCAC. I mean, a lot of great things happening to include with the Highlanders, but it's all one team effort that's kind of orchestrated through the center as our liaison. So thanks for coming tonight. And I invited them to come out versus just sit around and talk about it, and they took me up on it. It came in full force.
Good.
As you can see.
That's a good thing, yeah.
Short notice, but we appreciate the opportunity.
Okay. Approval of the previous minutes. I have the minutes from March the 11th.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carry. I have the minutes from our special meeting held on March the 21st.
So
That's
moved.
while Councilman King was down south enjoying himself, we were here at a special meeting. So don't vote on this, please, Councilman.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll stay out of this one.
We have a motion over
So
here in a
moved.
second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
So carry. Communications, I have, Justin, I'm going to hand this over to you when I mention what it is. It's enclosed, please find the annual FTA certifications and assurances form for your signature. I have marked the form where the supervisor is required to sign. Please return the original signed and retain the certifications and insurances. This is about, I guess, 20 pages of things that I'm going to have to swear that is happening, and I have a difficult time with that.
Okay.
So if you would look it over and tell me I can't get in trouble signing it, get it back to me. There's too much there for you to look at tonight.
Okay.
Good news from your department there, Councilman King. From the Department, the New York State Department of Transportation, the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Transportation, in consultation with the Public Transportation Safety Board, has approved as satisfactory and feasible your safety program. The submission you made on March the 14th, a copy of the resolution is attached for your files. So that's, I'd like to say that's your work, Ty, but I think
Well,
that's...
we definitely want to give a round of applause to Colleen.
There you go, all right.
just makes me look good. She's a champion.
Okay, the Office of Aging is asking us to participate in each year, the Corporation for National and Community Service has a National Service Recognition Day, a special day assigned to recognize volunteers across the nation who are meeting critical community needs through their volunteering. If someone on the board would like to look through this, this is also that RSVP organization that has a luncheon once a year, so I have this, if you want to read through it and see what we can do about it, thank you. I figured you would. I have a media release, and again, I'll copy this for the board. I don't know how the board feels about legalized marijuana. I think I know how the chief feels and anyone that wears the uniform, but I'm making that assumption. But I know how I feel about it, and I know there's nothing that we can, as a board, do to either push it or stop it. But this is very interesting of all the different reasons why the Chiefs Association doesn't think it should be passed. So I'll get this off to the board, and then I'll make a copy available to anyone that would like to stop by and see the town clerk.
Did you email that to us already?
I think so.
Oh, did I
You
already?
emailed that to us.
All
yeah.
right, okay, see, I'm doing a good job. Chief, I think I emailed you then, if I did email then. It's a very good, I have a letter from Orange County Legislator Lori Tortel. It's a letter opposing West Point taking over Long Pond. I'll email this, I just got this today. I'll email this to everyone so you can see Lori's thoughts on it. There's a Women of Distinction celebration to be on Thursday, May the 9th, 6:30 at the Orange County Emergency Services Auditorium in Goshen. They're inviting us to attend it's put on by Colin Smith, I think is the one that's behind it.
That's correct.
Yes. And I'll send this off to everybody, and I'll ask the town clerk to post this on the bulletin board. The Center for Highland Falls, they are having the 16th annual People Who Make a Difference recognition breakfast. It's at the it's at the West Point Club. Tickets in advance are $30. At the door, it's $40. They're available by calling the center. I have a telephone number you can call, and I'm sure that Councilman King can be called.
That's
Okay.
right. They got me signed up as a presenter for one of the awardees.
Okay,
So
and
I will
that's,
be
let
present.
me see, Saturday, April the 6th, 9 a.m. West Point Club.
Is that the Hudson Highland Women's
Yes.
Association?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a letter from our town clerk. I did send this to everyone, giving us what she thinks could be a solution to handling the receiver of taxes between now and when the new one would be elected. So I sent this out to everyone. If you didn't get it, let me know, and I think you did. Did you get it, June?
We all received hard copies. We all had hard copies.
Oh, you sent them out, I think. Yeah, I didn't have to. Okay. Financial reports, we paid out $538,473. Sounds like a lot, but the fire department gets, how much do they get?
Those are 400,000,
Was it twice a year or?
once a year.
One, okay, so.
It's for their budget.
So that's for the fire department's budget, that's why it sounds so high. And I didn't itemize it this time because I didn't have time. Board liaison reports. We'll start with the other Richie Parry.
As most people know, recently there was a village election, and just want to congratulate the re-election of Brian Alward as a trustee and the election of Jim DeSalvo as a trustee. Looking forward to working with them for the benefit of the community. Talking with the assessor, just to put everybody on notice, it seems like townwide there's a downward trend in our overall assessments. The numbers still have to be worked out, but we might be looking like about $1 million lowering townwide assessment, which will have effects. And just with the highway department, I think our highway superintendent says they're probably in pretty good shape to handle any more snowstorms that we may have until the end of the season. So thank you again. That's all.
June?
I attended the senior meeting, I think it was last Tuesday, a week ago. And I heard similar concerns as was brought up this evening. So I'm sure that that will be worked out. But there is history to why some of those cautions or procedures were put in place with the buses. And the police department completed their alert training. I'm sure the chief can bring us up to speed on that. And our 3 Phase 2 candidates, the chief can also tell you about, but they're doing very well. And they like it very much. And our deputy chief will be attending Leeds training, a conference. And I'm sure the chief can elaborate on that.
Wow, you're going to be up there a while. Jim, that it?
Yeah, I think so, but to go along with what Ty said about, I think it's the 4th Monday of the month, anyone that would like to reminisce or talk about history, and I found that Ty was there today. It's really a great opportunity for anyone that's interested in local history to be there.
Yeah.
Councilman King?
Right, good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. So to caveat what my colleague, Councilwoman Gunza, has just stated, yeah, I found it to be very interesting, personally, to hear the stories of the past as they relate to Highland Falls and the town of Highlands by the folks who have been here for quite a while. I mean, they went way back, and to some extent where I couldn't even remember during my childhood. So, but really, I found myself feeling like this should be recorded, man. This is history being unveiled in front of me here. It should be documented, you know, because it was really some thorough presentations. Not only was it oral presentations, but they came in with some displays as well. You know, one of the things, we have a few collectors amongst the group, and they collect whether it be baseball cards or whether it be postcards, and a variety of things that really depict this area and the history of this area. And so they came in with those displays. So, I mean, yeah, definitely want to talk that up. And I also found that as I see the dynamics through the group there, it was one of those things where you know, imagine somebody sitting at home that doesn't have anyone to talk to because they've just gotten to a certain age, right? Where this is an outlet. This allows people to come out of the house and be amongst others, and they had, it's called chat for a reason, right? Sit and chat. So there was discussion. It wasn't one person just presenting and everyone else receiving. It was a discussion, and I thought it was very healthy. Earlier, though, so we talked about most of that already, but then one thing we didn't talk about yet that we have addressed previously as a board is this idea of the senior center. So this location that has been previously, before my time, designated for senior citizens in the town of Highlands and Highland Falls to utilize, and it seems primarily the Highlanders have been operating out of there. It's still some significant frustration amongst that population of the hours of usage. What we thought we were going to accomplish in the early part of the year when I met with our recreation director, the liaison for the senior citizen, Ms. Agnes, and in the center, which was Ann Molina, and the newly appointed president of the Highlanders, Mr. Chris Burns. What we didn't realize is that by the having absence of the village, there is some disconnect. And so I don't know what we can do as a board, if there's something we can do to reach out to try to stimulate this conversation. But there's a significant population of people who believe that nothing, we know that's not to be true, but they believe that nothing is being done to enhance the quality of life of the senior citizens, because they view that building as the center of gravity for all things senior, and they can't get in there during the day, or it's only bingo being played, and they just feel like it's not enough resources sent their way. But what I've been told is that thing was acquired through a grant, and that grant came through the village.
Mhm.
And so they are essentially the landlords. And so what do we do? So I just threw that out to the board because it's something that's causing consternation out there significantly. The last thing I want to say is this bus fee, as conveyed by the group, you heard some of the sentiments, but there was a larger number of people earlier that almost unanimously found that to be a problem. So I understand why we did that, because we had these instances of buses going out with 2-4 people. They signed up 25 or 15, and then by the time the trip is to go, only 10 people show up, and so we wanted to make them put skin in the game, so therefore people show up. Now, it seems like, to me, the current situation is that those folks are been working to rally the troops, so to speak, and they're getting people on these buses to these trips. So that's why to them they feel like it's a penalty. So it's just something I think we really have to take a hard look at, because it's having the opposite effect of what we were trying to do right now. That's all I have.
As you look into this time, maybe they're wondering where does the $6 go? Okay, let's just say $3 go to the bus drivers, and now you got $3 times 20 people on the bus, $60. Now, I don't know how Kelly would work this out on her budget papers or what have you, but if that money could go into a fund, we'll call it, for the seniors, so when they have their Christmas party, okay, that money could be used for something a little bit extra at the Christmas party, decorations, or anything like that. But in other words, we're not putting it into our bank.
Right.
We're putting it into their budget where they can use it. So they're not losing it, it's staying with it.
Well, that's definitely the proposal that I would support, is that whatever the money is that they're putting in, that it goes to the thing that services them, i.e. the bus driver gratuity, and then something back in the pot for them later versus.
I know it's not easy to do that, Kelly, above board, but
Their first trip, though, broke even, I think. I've only had one. They're in the process of doing a second one. So the first one, what I collected was what was paid for.
well, that was the one, the Westchester Theater?
Yes.
Yeah,
Then
okay,
there's
that
another
would
one
break
coming up
even,
in
yeah.
May, so I don't know how that'll all work out. But I would just put it in a separate revenue account.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And then this is one of the things, again, we would call in the Army strategic communications, where if we don't communicate what's really happening, then everybody thinks that something else is happening. So whatever it is, that if it's taking care of the bill and it's breaking even, then we have to communicate that so they just understand what's going on.
So as long as they know that money's still being used for seniors and
Right.
going in their account, I think that will.
Absolutely, absolutely.
In support to Ty's cause, we did vote to retain the old dial bus, 82,000 miles, whatever gets used, 3 or 4 years out of it. And a few weeks ago, I read it off at the last meeting, the senior center is part of that grant. I'm not going to go into specifics, has some code enforcement issues. The village had a meeting that I attended with the building inspector to try and move that along. I'm not sure the status of it. So these things are behind the scenes being addressed.
Rich?
All right, got a couple things. I was invited to and went to, at the center the other night, the community forum. Couldn't stay for the whole time because the ZBA had a meeting, which I came to. They talked about a whole bunch of things. I missed most of it, but rec basketball being in Sacred Heart. I'm gonna call it an open gym, but I don't think it's for adults. It's just for kids at Sacred Heart, and they have a bunch of rules. I think it's on Friday nights. You might know better than me. So they talked about that. I think it was Rebecca Stewart talking about that. And they talked about senior things that are going on, some of which were addressed tonight. And then I came to the ZBA meeting. At the ZBA meeting, they had a public hearing, and I don't know the gentleman's name, but I do believe it was on what the planning board worked on the next night. Is it 69 Schneider Avenue, I believe? Or is it total, I mean, whichever one it was, it was approved, their variance was granted at the ZBA meeting and acted upon the next night. I don't know if the ZBA has anything next month. They do meet on the third Wednesdays of every month. That would be April 17th. If something comes up at the next meeting, I'll read it off. Along Richie's lines, congratulations to the village elector winners, the trustees. And I think Jim DeSalvo just had a son, if I'm not mistaken, so congratulations to that. Attended the board meeting. It was a tough one, the special meeting about Long Pond and also about the receiver of taxes. Are we going to go into the Long Pond meeting a little bit later on? Okay?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Just to be transparent so that people know what's going on.
Give you a little summary about February's building department. There were 5 permit applications received. 5 were issued. 5 COs were issued. 12 building permit inspections. 10 fire safety inspections. 18 advisory notice violations were issued. 13 advisory violations were completed. 7 municipal searches, 1 zoning variance applications was received. 1 planning board application was received. 8 FOIL requests. 53 total number of physical inspections. Remember, along with Bruce's interaction with the different boards and whatnot, there's only 1 person besides the secretary in that department, so he's keeping busy. On the sewer, the bid didn't quite go the way that we wanted to. I don't know if we're going to talk about that. I attended the meeting where we had a conference call about bonding for that particular thing. The new roof is done down at the control building at the plant. After almost 2 years, about 1 million phone calls and RFPs, we got that done, okay? So at least that's done. The flow for the month of February at the plant, there was 2.8 inches of precipitation. We had an average flow of 104,000 gallons per day. All right. I got a phone call and an email that I distribute to everybody, if you're interested, and I hope people are, from Jeff Lano of the New York Power Authority on replacing our 167 lights with LED lighting. Subsequent to that, and I have a whole thing, he's going to come on April the 8th if we welcome to and give a 15-minute talk on it. He also referred me to a couple of people that have done it, one of which is Clarkstown. I emailed the town clerk at Clarkstown with a FOIL request. Within 15 minutes, a gentleman named Robert Birdie called me back. He's their purchasing agent. They have 4,000 lights. They spent $500,000 purchasing them from O&R. They did the project over 4 months. They required that their lights be American-made. That's hard. Jeff Lano is going to use Philips. They're assembled in America, so if they have to be American-made, that's really hard to accomplish that. But Clarkstown required that. They're very happy. They recognize savings immediately. And the proposal that Jeff Lano sent, which he's going to have to explain in the financing, which I'll just use this number, it's under $200,000 for everything, says that it will pay for itself along with financing in 8.21 years for a light that's guaranteed to last between 15 and 25 years. And I went to Clarkstown to drive around at midnight one night to see what it looks like. It's not unpleasing. So if the board would like to have him come, I wish Lynette's were here. I know her husband is very big into that. I hope he comes to that. So that's that.
Very good.
May I, on the dial-a-bus and the one that we're keeping, or at least for now we're keeping, our largest problem is drivers. Maybe we could contact West Point Tours or a company such as that and see if there's anyone that would like part-time work, just so that we could utilize the buses.
Yeah, I concur. We gotta do some sort of campaign, put ad in the paper or something. because that's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Maybe we can, Kelly, you're up here, so you see Debbie more than I. Maybe Debbie can give us some advice on for finding drivers from them.
I think you have to have a P endorsement on your driver's license.
Yeah.
But most of the bus companies, they'll have that.
Yeah.
Right, so is it possible to do some sort of, contractual relationship with a bus company that just provides drivers? Possibly.
Isn't that where Debbie came from?
Yeah. Yeah, she was a driver there,
Yeah.
but now she's on our payroll. Okay. The only thing, for my report, very little. If anyone has noticed in front of my restaurant on that corner, there's a triangle, and it's been all mulched up. There's flowers coming through it already, but some idiot in Fort Montgomery twice now has driven through the middle of it. I mentioned it to the chief, if he could keep an eye on it down there, and if anybody at home should see and be able to identify who's doing it, I'd appreciate it if they would let the police know, and if they'd rather not go to the police, I'm sure me and my son can take care of it. I'll leave it at that. Kelly, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Chief, you're on.
Thank you. Yes, we did complete alert training on Saturday. I want to thank the board for allowing us to apply for the grant. 16 hours of training, 8 classroom, 8 practical. Only 3 members weren't able to make it, but they'll take it somewhere else in the county, and that's all reimbursed, their salaries reimbursed. We were fortunate enough that we also had some members of the Highland Falls PD there with us. We also had Cornwall Hudson and Crawford, but the key is that because we're limited in manpower, sometimes solo patrol, if we were to have some kind of active shooter, we know that our neighboring communities are trained as well, so that we could perform as a team. So we're very happy. Again, I want to thank the board. I definitely want to thank the school district and, of course, the Orange County Sheriff's Office who supplied the instructors. I did drive down Saturday to meet with them, to thank them, and watch some of the exercise as well. It was very good.
Was that happening at the high school?
It was, yes, sir.
Okay, 'cause I came through there, I saw all the cars, and so it dawned on me that probably was going on.
They did a great job. I think everybody enjoyed it, even some folks that had some previous SWAT training. I'm an alert instructor, but I could not do what the sheriff's office does, because they do it constantly, train everybody in the county. Now, our 3 Phase 2 recruits will be receiving alert training as well in the Phase 2, so they'll come out already trained. And all police academies in this area right now give alert training, at least alert 1, to the recruit. So if we were to grab somebody who was previously trained, they already have the training. So, the key is hopefully never to use it, but if we do, we can perform as a team.
Very good.
Our Phase 2 folks are doing well. Checked in with them last week, at the end of the week, and I spoke to them tonight. They're doing night firing, so they'll be out in a couple weeks, and we'll get them into field training. And yes, Deputy Chief Hickey was nominated and accepted to attend MALEADS, which is the Mid-Atlantic Law Enforcement Executive Development Seminar. We did budget the money for that in the beginning of the year, just hoping he would get in. Out of the New York spots, we were able to fill 16. He was one of 4 Orange County supervisors that are going, so we're pretty happy for him as well. Other than that, kind of quiet.
I was telling Chief, it could be because I got short-term memory loss, but the fact of the matter is, I just don't recall as much training going on previously than to when he came. So I think there's definitely emphasis there. I think it enhances the capability of our force, and we got to be one of the best trained full part-time forces in America, because you're always doing something, right? So I just want to say hats off to you.
Thank you, sir.
And the rest of the force down there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Even though I have it written down, I forgot to mention that garden that I was talking about in front of the restaurant, my restaurant. Brian Sonanik and his landscaping company, neighbors, they have been taking good care of that now for the last couple of years. pro bono or at no cost, whatever you want to call it. So it's much appreciated, especially by me, because this old man is not in shape to be doing that garden anymore. Yes, MJ?
I noticed your trailer across the way is gone now.
Yep, yep.
That's good.
That's very good. Yep, the folks across, the folks that own the property decided to hide it in the back. Eventually, I hope they will get rid
Still
of it.
there, but you
Yeah.
just can't see it now.
Exactly. But that's a good thing, that you can't see it now. I'll ask our highway superintendent to please come up and let us know what you want to do about seasonal employees.
We're not sure yet if it's going to work. It depends on the applicants we get in. We're not looking for college kids, we're looking for somebody that can work from April till October, is what we're trying to find. We don't know if that's gonna work, but it's the only thing we could think of to try and save the money on the grass cutting and to be able to police the grass cutting in the cemeteries, even in the parks, a little bit better than what we have been able to in the past. So we fired 4 landscapers because none of them follow the contract. They just don't accomplish what they're supposed to, and we all know that cemeteries are a sacred place for people, and they have to be cut. They have to be cut on schedule. We were a little light on the schedule because of the funds. We upped the funds a little bit, but they're still saying that we don't pay enough to get a quality, this is the way they explained it to me, quality landscaper in here. They want to be able to cut 4 times a month at least, and we just can't afford to pay that at the present time. The board's done a great job bringing it up, so I'd like to try and hire 2 seasonal landscapers. They're called laborers. Alyssa asked June today to help write a description in the paper or an ad in the paper to try and get a few people interested in the job, and let's see what we get. But we have to move pretty quick on this because grass cutting season's here.
Yeah.
So, and we have the new mower, and we are fabricating a trailer, the old police trailer. We're fabricating that to house and to use to move the machine around. So, with the board's permission, I'd like to advertise for 2 seasonal laborers from April till October, not to exceed 35 hours a week at $15 an hour.
And Kelly, is there enough in his budget for that?
We would use the grass cutting line
Oh, okay.
when we had budgeted, we'd have to do a budget transfer.
And if anyone on the board would like to go up to the garage during the day, take a look at the work that they're doing on that trailer that's been sitting around for, what, 5 years now, or a long time?
I'm finishing my 5th year, and it's been sitting there since I've been there, and it was there quite a while
They're
before.
doing a great job on it there. It's going to be our landscaping vehicle.
A little creation.
I have a question. Are you advertising only in Highland Falls paper?
That's where I'd like to start, June, because of the cost to put it in the record. We can also put the ad on Facebook, because Alyssa and Kelly work together on the Facebook ad. I don't know if they do anything with the website. Maybe we could put it on our website.
That's a good idea.
I think you might be able to put it on Indeed.com, and I think it's free.
Okay. We can look at that avenue too.
I mean, I'm sure that people in the town and village will read it in the local paper, but there
Right.
might not be people that are willing to do that job, so yeah, you need to go farther.
Right. Another problem we had last time we advertised the part-time employee, we had one applicant. Dylan Loftus was our only applicant and he does seasonal stuff for the rec department and for us and around town hall. But we were surprised that there was only one local person who put in for that job. And we did advertise it quite well. So, and it's word of mouth, we tried to get it out too. So, and if you know anybody, I'd like to find somebody that's retired looking for something to do, that's willing to work a little bit hard. So, but that's that.
So when is if no one comes forward as a result of your ads, what is the approximate deadline before you're going to have to go out to bid?
We probably should have been out to bid already, but there was we're trying to get our they call it ducks in a row with the county. and making sure that we were in compliance on what they require has taken quite some time. So now we have it figured out.
Okay, because I'm guessing they would have a seasonal laborer's position statement right on the website.
We've looked at that, and it's unique. It's a unique position, is what it is. It's a seasonal laborer is what it comes out to being.
Right.
So, and as I said, it's easy to tell you what the job is, to tell the person what the job is, but to get that little blurb in the paper is just what we're working on, and trying to make it not too big, but not too small. So it covers that,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
I got a couple questions. So you said that that goes from April to what?
October.
October, okay.
That includes the cemeteries?
That is the cemetery, that's mainly the cemeteries. We have a couple other properties that we do cut too, which is Brooks's Park. We cut the Patriot Garden.
Okay.
We cut, a lot of people don't know this, but we cut all of Mine Dock Road on both sides. Mine Road we cut on both sides. My guys have to stick to that. But we also have the water plant now, that we have to cut that as well.
But the landscapers previously only did the cemeteries.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm trying to make it so that the two seasonal,
Okay.
trying to schedule it so they can do almost all the grass cutting. Now, I don't expect them to be able to do Canterbury Road like we do,
Right.
involved with that, but the main grass cutting,
So the guys that cut grass now
Mhm.
can stay with highway.
yes.
That sells me. Every meeting, I always choose to say something that's gonna annoy everybody. Now's my moment. So, like, the cemeteries are important, and everybody knows my feelings on the private sector. So now the cemeteries are gonna be cut by two people, which I am going to vote for. But true cost is a retirement that goes along with that, even though they're part-time, and that's okay. I'm just letting people know that cemeteries are now gonna be a public sector entity. I'm just putting it out there. So everybody can write their hate mail when I'm done saying that, that's okay. But so long as the highway guys are loose to be able to stay with highway and not cut grass, I'll go along with it.
Ty, you had.
Yeah, the second
I
question.
interrupted you.
The second question was reference to the seniors earlier today. So in that class about green burials, a question was raised, could a portion of a cemetery be allocated for green burials? Now, the answer is yes in some places. Other cemeteries are like taking a square block or something and they're saying this is gonna be green. I throw that out there, not that we have a demand currently, but because people are getting educated on this process, you might start to have it. And just wanted to know if that's something that we can kind of think through, brainstorm, or say, no, we can't do it because there's not the resources to do it.
I think with the help of Justin, we have to look into it more.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I really don't,
I
We
think you'd
don't
have
do
to
it.
check with the Department of Health on that one.
yes. Yeah, so there has to be a lot of research.
To show a
We'll look
body.
into it, but it's not a simple yes or no.
Yeah, well,
Well, Department of Health, because there is streams across the way. There are wells up there at our cemetery, so it's, it has to be dug into quite a bit. And
okay.
make sure that
Well, I'll give you
we
a
can be
reference.
compliant.
Rockland County has, our neighbors to the right there, they have what I'm talking about. So I have some pamphlets I'll pass your
Okay,
way.
please do.
So I just want to be able to put the baby to rest, as they say, by saying, no, we're not capable, or
Okay.
start to brainstorm the possibilities.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a little history. This will be the second annoying thing I've done tonight. So at that cemetery about 15 years ago, there was a grant. And that grant drilled 3 or 4 wells, which was going to be a supply for water that kind of became abandoned. I'm pretty sure those wells would not be conducive to having biological deterioration in the area of them, okay? They're not being used, I'm just bringing up that they're there.
Yeah, I ain't gonna get into a class on how this thing works right now. But you'd be surprised,
Right.
the difference between what we currently do and what I'm suggesting right now, that we just be aware of. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's it for me.
Pat,
One
After-
more thing for Justin to research.
after the meeting, if you have time, and if Richie has time. I need about 5 minutes.
Okay, that's not a problem. Well,
Thank you.
While I'm up here, I just want to say thank you to my highway sanitation guys. We didn't get the amount of snow that we normally get in the winter, but I think there was 3 payrolls that the highway guys worked from, I want to tell you, at least 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, all the way through the day, all the way through the night, and worked the next day. Hats off to them. There were some complaints, but people have to realize that there's 4 trucks on the road, and there's a lot more streets than there are trucks, and you can't be on those roads. So the highway guys and the sanitation guys, there wasn't a day that we did not pick up, that we canceled garbage or recyclables this year. So hats off to those guys.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You'll be seeing us out doing the yard waste and starting to fix some sides of the roads and fix some holes in the roads. We don't have many potholes, but this year was a little tough on our roads. The only other thing I would like to say that it isn't as a highway superintendent, it's as Pat Patterson, person that works to help raise funds for Hudson Valley Honor Flight. If anybody on TV or the board gets an opportunity, April 13th, they have another flight at a Stewart Airport. Please attend. It's be there by 7 o'clock in the morning, and send these veterans off. Send them off to a day they so well deserve. There is one veteran on the flight, World War II veteran, 108 years old. Another one, 103, and that's at a Stewart. There's one at a Westchester, 104 years old. The World War II vets, I believe there's 25 of them again. And you're talking to them, if you see anybody that's going on this flight, you ask them, how was the flight? And they'll tell you that other than being married or their children, this is the best day of their life. So if you get a chance on April 13th, go out and check it out and show your support for our veterans. So.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. June, you want to do the next thing on the agenda? Make a motion to appoint him?
I need for Patrick. Okay. I'll make a motion that we hire Patrick V. Cayley as a police officer in the town of Highlands with the maximum probation and the starting salary. And he will be attending a refresher course at the Police Chiefs Association Academy in Orange County. He has been a police officer before, and he was an excellent candidate, and you've all met him. I believe he was there that night, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, he was there. We saw so many, I had to stop and think.
Okay, I have the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, we had as we approved the minutes there, we had an executive session on what to do about replacing the receiver of taxes. We talked for quite a while about one way or the other. We did discuss June's proposal. And Richie, do you have something to say on that?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So my next door neighbor is Carmelina Messina, and she's done this, I believe, 3 times in the past now, replace people. She is ready, willing, and able to do it, and expressed enthusiasm toward doing it. And she was unable to come tonight. I didn't give her enough notice to come tonight.
Okay, you have a motion for us?
I'll make a motion.
To hire Carmelina?
Hire Carmelina Messina to fill out the term for a receiver of taxes.
At the normal receivers
Right, salary
pay?
schedule.
Okay.
You say she have got experience?
She's done it 3 times in the past.
Okay, I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. She can start ASAP.
That would be till the end of 2019?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay, we had a meeting with representatives from the West Point Garrison. There's rumors all over town, and basically there's the deputy garrison commander was here with the, what is she, the temporary chairman of the MWR. And what they're doing is they're making an offer to the town. And at this point in time, it is an offer to take over Long Pond and completely, well, actually, they're talking about $1 to $4 million they want to put into Long Pond. They want to buy all new benches, fire pits. There are a couple of, I don't know where the $4 million has come from. I don't even know where the $1 million is, but they're going to just totally improve it, take it over, incur all the expenses. It will not cost the town of Highlands residents that use Long Pond anything more than they're paying right now. No rules are being changed. Fishermen can still fish. I'd have to say the only little area is one or two of the former employees. One of them's been there 40 years. They can't match her pay, but that's no problem because she wasn't interested in working for them. But other than that, they want to hire our lifeguards. They want to keep the same hours. And the only alternative to that, if the town were to choose, would be to pay some fees that start at $25,000. There's a couple more, I forget, I don't even remember the names of them. A couple more fees in between there, plus a rent that's equivalent to the average rent for such a piece of property. So, in a way, our backs were against the wall, but it's a very comfortable, I feel very comfortable that West Point is going to give us something that's going to be very, very nice. We're looking for right now we have a 5-year lease that expired in December. We're looking for another 5-year lease, at least, minimum. Not lease, I take that word back, contract.
Yes.
Memorandum of agreement.
Yeah, so, MOA, there you go. These initials get me. The entire board was at their presentation. It was a regular board meeting. Ty, you were away enjoying yourself in a different way, but
That was
I don't
a
know.
regular board meeting? I thought I went when we didn't have a board meeting.
well, I called a special meeting.
Oh,
I called it a special meeting, yeah.
It started out not to be, and then probably you didn't see the rest of it, when it became a special meeting.
Got it.
So, like I say, I don't know what else to tell anybody about it. Hopefully, it'll be a very good thing and turn into a very nice playground for the summer. They have a lot of plans, blacktopping the parking lot, not tearing down the pavilion, but redoing it, cleaning it up, fixing it up nicer than what it is now. All new picnic benches in there. We can keep anything we want that's in there now. In other words, take it out of there, sheds or the playground. Pat, you were there today, right?
Yes.
You did a walkthrough? Yeah, come on up.
After being out at Long Pond today, it was very disheartening what I saw out there. We have no control over the water out there, and riding around and looking around, all the picnic areas are underwater. There's grills rotted off from setting in the water for the last year or so. I don't know if it's the beaver dams or their dams, but Long Pond isn't what it used to be. There's section of the beach that's 2 foot now, and it's all eroded away. So for us to go out there and even bring back that to where it should be, I don't think we have the resources to do that. So hopefully West Point is going to make it good for our community. We went out there today, and there is some equipment, some personal equipment from the lifeguards that have worked out there for 40 years that they have to remove from out there. There's one shed that Aaron is looking for a place to take it. I'm not sure where that's going to be.
Don't tell them it's in the village, will you, please?
He's mentioned about the outfield of Brooks's Park, and I told him,
Okay.
there's no way. There's no way that can go there.
No, we don't want that. there.
So, I don't know where he wants to put that. But there's not much out there that's any good to us anymore, and that's what we came up with today. The playground equipment, what are we gonna do with it? It's concreted in the ground. It's
Well, I
under.
mentioned to Pat, anything out there that we intend to leave, but if we leave it, they're gonna take it and throw it away, such as the playground equipment. Maybe there's, I think on Center Street, there's a playground, the little park. Maybe we could put some up there, pardon me?
Mine Dog Park too.
Yep, Mine Dog Park, and especially for the picnic benches that they want to get rid of, the grills that they might want to get rid of. So
Well,
we don't want them throwing away things that we might be able to use.
right. Again, the playground equipment is sitting underneath probably about 2 foot of water
Wow.
right now. So what good is that equipment to us? Filled with water, it's froze, it's thawed, it's froze, it's thawed. If you know anything about metal, it's no good to us. The picnic benches, same thing. Metal picnic benches, they're underwater, froze. You know, the water is still covering most of them out there.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
I didn't either until I rode around today. There might be a couple things that we can salvage out there, but the rest of it, it's no good to us.
Just thinking back on maybe last year's budget, when Aaron had requested certain resources to make improvements, whether it be to the shed or whatever. And as we know, being fiscally responsible, we had to cut a lot of those requests. So that being said, then what you just have conveyed as the current situation, to me is a no-brainer. You know, if we still get to use the facilities as is, and you, especially if you make a contract to ensure that nothing changes, it's a better deal. Let somebody else pay for taking care of it.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about it while the seniors were here. I didn't want to bring up a whole new load of things, but we talk about trips to here, there, and wherever. If it comes out as nice as they're saying it's going to, a trip to Long Pond for the seniors, use the pavilion, have lunch out at Long Pond, do some walking through there, and even a little swimming or bathing or whatever. It might be a nice thing to do during the summer. It might be very, very nice.
Absolutely, I concur.
Well, as presented, I don't think we really have much of a choice, although it was made very attractive, and they did tell us that they were putting a lot of money into upgrading it, and that it would be used by West Point and the town of Highlands.
And there was even little things thought of, fishing. We'll be able to fish the pond or the lake as we have in the past with the New York State fishing license. We won't have to get a West Point fishing license. So, yeah, it's just little things like that. A lot of thought's been put into it. I'm anxious to see the contract. Justin said we'll be looking at the contract and saying that we have all the little things that we want. And do you have a copy of the old lease, Justin?
I do, yep.
You do, okay. So, as soon as we get the, and they gotta get working pretty quick because we're getting close. It is springtime.
Supervisor, don't forget that they said that Memorial Day weekend is their plan on opening Long Pond. So they're really pushing it over.
And they got a lot of money they want to put into it, so at least we won't be building a wall with that money anyway.
And it's replacing Round Pond.
Yes.
Oh, really? So Round Pond's going what?
It's not gonna go
Not
away,
be a
but,
swimming area or anything anymore.
No, just camping. It'll be swimming
Oh,
at your
okay.
own risk.
I see.
Okay, well, that makes me more confident that they're gonna put what they say into Long Pond.
If
Rich,
you were
you
out to Round Pond last year, which I don't know if you were, they had this big jungle gym thing out in the water. That's going plus is going in Long Pond, is telling us.
Wow.
So there'll be a lot of fun stuff for the teens out there.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like a good plan.
And they mentioned cutting around the basketball court, so it's used more than what it is now. I didn't even realize we had a basketball court. Rich, you want to talk anything more about the LED streetlight?
I have the proposal, if you want the gentleman to come, I emailed it to everybody if you had a chance to look at it. And you want me to read the narrative that he gave to me? I mean, it'd take me a couple minutes, otherwise, he could read it when he comes. Do we want him here on April the 8th?
Yes.
Okay. So, the New York Power Authority appreciates the opportunity to provide the town of Highlands with a turnkey proposal to upgrade its existing streetlight system to energy-efficient LED. NYPA is delivering the Smart Streetlight New York program to communities around the state. It has 300,000 streetlights in our pipeline. We are delighted to be considered as a resource by the town of Highlands to implement this project on its behalf. NYPA will team with the town in order to design and implement a project that meets town specification and requirements. Another part of our value proposition is that we offer our customers low-cost project financing. Additionally, NYPA can make all milestone payments to vendors, so the town will not need to incur any out-of-pocket costs to implement the work. Through this project, and shown in the proposal summary sheet, the town of Highlands will upgrade all of its streetlights, estimated at 167. In developing this proposal estimate, NYPA used the inventory that was furnished by the town. I got that from O&R, thank you, Kelly. Via the streetlight invoice from Orange and Rockland, and for the month of January, I gave them a couple of bills to look at. So in short, I don't want to make it sound like it's too good to be true. I went to a seminar at the Association of Towns on this. People ask questions like, do they attract bugs? Do they cause people not to be able to sleep at nighttime? So what O&R, the way they charge you is by the watts. They're not metered. They do have the thing on it to make it come on, the selenium thing to make it come on at dark. They're not metered, so you're being charged by the watts. So a conventional mercury vapor light that might be 175 watts, the same amount of lumens being accomplished by 23 watts with the LED. And everybody's got their own preference. If you go through Clarkstown, they did the whole town, all 4,000 of them. They put out ample light. They put out the light in a way such that you're not really going to see it from an airplane. It's directed to the ground. And I think that it's plausible. I'm not saying we should do it or not. We'll listen to the gentleman make his proposal. I think it's plausible. And I know the village was working on something. I emailed one of the board members about a couple of weeks ago and haven't heard back. I'm not sure what they're doing. Maybe it'll be something to combine forces on. And when we're all done, you are charged with the task of maintaining these yourself. Remember, they last 15 to 25 years, and you'd have to have a licensed electrician. When he comes, he can explain to us how that's been done in other towns. And the numbers that he gave me shows even with financing, and I won't say the total number, but it's under 200,000, 8.21 years to pay for itself with the savings you would recognize. And in speaking with the people at Clarkstown, they were wonderful. The guy called me right back. They love their project. They love their savings. They've done it since 2015.
Okay, so I'll look forward to that, him
Okay.
coming.
I'm going to tell him to come April the 8th to
Yep.
be here. Thank you.
And we're going to have two speakers that night, because there's another one here, John Blanc from Fort Montgomery. He's organized a speaker. My guest will be Mr. James O'Gorman, telecommunications and infrastructure engineer, who I've asked to present a discussion on cellular services. Mr. O'Gorman has a very extensive background in the field of telecommunications dating back to '71. He serves on the board of directors of the Society of Telecommunication Consultants and participates in many professional programs. He is also the president and founder of Communication Engineering LLC. There are many dead spots around the town places where cellular signals fail to reach. As a resident of the town, I'm constantly challenged with getting a signal, whether standing in front of the Navy Federal Credit Union, by the town hall, or driving on Mine Road to Route 6. I've also read many local articles addressing concerns over cell towers in the town. After meeting Mr. O'Gorman at my workplace and learning his talents, I've asked him to discuss some of what might go into finding a solution for the town of Highlands cellular issues. This is not a solicitation, but an information brief that the board may have more knowledge on the subject of cellular communications. So he's not a salesman, he's not selling for his company, he's just going to tell us what's out there other than cell towers. Should be interesting. So we'll have a good night, we'll have to lighten up on the budget a little bit. Justin, could you give us a couple of minutes on the Fort Montgomery, on the bids? We've got the bids in and so on.
Sure, on the sewer project, down at the sewer plant, again, that was a storm mitigation loan program project. Anticipated costs of approximately $2.8 million. That's what the approvals were with the state agencies, specifically the State Controller's Office, who had to approve the project, and then the EFC. Bids, the bid opening was approximately 10 days ago, and the bids came back higher than anticipated, somewhat significantly higher than anticipated. Some of that having to do with just the changes in the economy, as well as the length of time from when the proposal was initially put together back in 2015, and then ultimately approved by the EFC and state agencies in 16. So the lag in time has led to some increased costs as well. Right now, the town board, as the town board knows, but speaking to the public as well, I guess, is undertaking a review of potential financing options. There was a call with the EFC, who is the funder of the current loan structure. Just so you recall, that part of that is a grant, part of that is 0% interest financing, and part of that is EFC market rate financing, which is better than public financing, or private financing, but is but higher than 0%. What they have offered on this particular project is that they would fund the difference at the EFC market rate. They can't tell us exactly what the market rate is because they bundle these projects together and then they go out and sell the bonds. And at the time that they do that, they get a rate. The last EFC market rate was approximately 2.5%. They anticipate that under the current economy, it'll be higher than that. They didn't want to pin themselves down, and I don't want anyone to get the impression that we know what the numbers are, but they thought probably somewhere between 3 and 5%. So those numbers are all being evaluated with the help of the controller. And ultimately to move forward, which is probably the prudent choice based on the conditions of your sewer plant and the necessary upgrades, as well as the portion of funds that is all grant funding. There was approximately $700,000 of a grant included in this project. You'll need to explore these options. You will need to get the approval of the State Controller's Office again to increase the burden on the taxpayers. And you will need to amend your bond resolution. And Dan Birmingham, your bond counsel's been contacted, and he's in communications with us as well. I don't know if you want really rough estimates, or if you want to hold that until we have better information.
Rather than a rough estimate, first of all, we're talking about the residents of the Fort Montgomery Sewer Improvement Area. That's not all of Fort Montgomery. If you don't have sewers, we're really not talking to you. If you're in the water district, we are talking to you, even if you don't have a hookup to the town sewer. But anyway, we're talking to the people in the sewer district. I want those people to realize that I'm one of those people, and the people on this board and myself are very, very aware of high taxes, high costs, water costs, and now the sewer costs will be a few bucks more than what you've been paying. We're very aware of it. We're doing the best we can to do right by our taxpayers. And the sewer plant is 35 years old. It just absolutely needs work to be done. Fortunately, we have this money coming from storm mitigation, I guess it's called.
Right.
So it's a little cheaper than if we were to go out and try to do it on our own. But again, we are fully aware of the high cost of living here in the town of Highlands, and we're just doing our best to get the right numbers.
Something I learned, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just the last comment I'd make is ultimately the state controller and that process would require a public hearing, so the public will have all the information once the determinations are made.
Oh, it's something I learned during budget season, which I kind of knew anyway, was in a special district like that, it's not necessarily, correct me if I'm wrong, subject to the tax cap. I believe that sewer district received an 8% increase, which goes directly to the people paying their bill, with some help from whatever's left over from bonds and all that revenue in the reserves. I'm not quite sure when you roll over the bond for 30 years how that all works. Just something to keep in mind if people decide what they want to do with their government for the future of districts being developed. If I understand correctly, they are not subject to the tax cap.
All right, that's all I got. Anybody on the board?
Do you have to, do the seasonal employees for the housing?
We had to make a motion for him to be able to advertise, right?
Yeah,
I'll make that motion.
okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. June, there was one, Justin, on the solar panel legislation. We kind of pushed that to the back burner.
Sure. We had a discussion, or I know I have with Councilwoman Gunza, and some with Councilman Sullivan and with the planning board reps. So we had received comments from a few of you and from the planning board and from a consultant, and happy to make revisions, and that would need to be reintroduced as a new local law in 2019, since it was previously introduced in 18. Public hearing held, typical process, but if you're ready to move on that, I'm happy to get you a draft local law.
I don't want to wait till we have a bunch of cell towers, or not cell towers, but...
Right, application, sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense to have your legislation in place.
Right, and once we put it in place, if it has to be amended, fixed up, or what have you, we can do it.
Correct.
But
Okay.
can't fix something that's not there, so maybe not next meeting.
I'll look to have the introductory resolution for the second April
Okay.
meeting
Okay.
with the draft of
Thank you.
the law.
Okay, a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Richard, me, you, and Pat for 2 minutes.